the hot air went away and it came back.
Boy, you get on sending people to you.
How's your throat?
So we're gonna go ahead and reconvene. We're going to, item N. The time is 10:11. Item N, discuss the take action. No, I was just making notes. Item N, discuss the consider take action to extend the consulting contract for financial advisor / consultant Paul Bain for an additional month. Do I have a motion? So we have a motion from, hold on, Alderman Falcone to table. Do I have a second? Second by Alderman Dominguez. Any discussion? Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and vote on the motion by Alderman Falcone to table this, for a later date. Place one?
Yes.
Place two? Place three?
Yes.
Place four?
Yes.
Place five? So the motion has been tabled for a later date. Item O, discuss, consider, and take action regarding a letter to police chief providing timely notification in accordance under paragraph 24 of his employment agreement / contract that his contract will not be renewed.
I make a motion that we go ahead and not renew his contract.
I haven't asked for a motion quite yet, but do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we go ahead and not renew his contract, and after contract is expired, that we go on a month to month.
So the motion is that we do not renew the police chief's contract at the end of his agreement, but that we go to a month to month. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Alderman Dominguez. Motion by Alderman Huerta. Any discussion?
So what would that entail if we went in month to month?
So the motion is to not renew, but go to month to month. That would basically the chief's contract expires on October of 2024. And the way Alderman Huerta has mentioned that at that point, he will no longer be under contract and he will be an at-will employee and will be month to month. Is that correct? That he will be an at-will employee? Any further discussion?
I have a problem with that because we don't have anything in our employee manuals or the police department manual that has that for month to month. Or do we have anything in our budget that we can do month to month?
But we can add it later.
Holly,
So, I mean, this is something we can add. I mean, we can have this discussion as it gets closer to the end of his contract time, which is October of next year. We can add other items to discuss and take action or action items in the agendas next year as we get closer to the end of his contract.
but it's stated in paragraph 24, all it is, we're just reviewing it for a month, year. We don't say nothing about month to month. That's all we're doing right there, is 24. They don't say nothing about month to month.
So based on the contract, the length of his contract, where we're referring to paragraph 24 of his employment agreement / contract, unless either party provides written notice to the other of its intention to renegotiate and or not renew this contract no less than 12 months prior to the end of its initial or any extended term, this contract shall automatically be extended on the then applicable terms and conditions. So based on the chief's contract, if we don't provide him ample notice 12 months in advance, his contract would automatically renew for another 3 years. So this letter would provide him that notice. Mr. Huerta has made the motion to, after his contract is up, that he would go on a month-to-month as an at-will employee. It has been seconded by Alderman Dominguez. We have any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor, how long was that contract for? If it doesn't expire in 2024, when was the contract initiated?
It was a 3-year contract. It was initiated in 2018, I believe. And it
Was renewed in
It re-
2021?
it renewed in 2021, correct, for another 3 years. So it will expire on 2024. This letter provides him notice based on that, what I just read. So, any other discussion? So we're going to go ahead and vote on the motion by Councilman Huerta to not renew.
Yes.
However, he will go to become an at-will employee at the end of his contract, correct?
Yes.
So, we'll go ahead and vote. Place 1,
Yes.
place 2,
Yes.
place 3,
Yes.
place 4,
No.
place 5.
No.
The motion passes 3-1 with Councilman Huerta, Alvaro, and Dominguez, and Councilman Falcon
No.
and Candela were no. So the motion passes. The chief has been provided the letter giving him notice based under his paragraph 24 of his contract. His contract will expire on October of 2024. At that point, the chief will become an at-will employee and will be subject to the policies associated with that position under that at will. So item number 4, reports. Any council members, you have any reports, anything that you'd like to add?
Yes, I sure do. They're having a good day yet. It's all good, guys. I mean, it's all good. We're all amongst friends. November EDC banquet. I think we usually get 2 tables
Yes.
and the EDC will pay for it. So I guess I'll get the head count later on.
Okay.
So that's about the only thing. It's November 1st, I think.
Okay.
It's San Patricio.
San Patricio EDC.
So we usually get 2 tables, so, and the EDC will pay for that. That's about it.
Anyone else? Council 1, place 1, Mr. Huerta?
No.
Ms. Alvaro, anything to report? Mr. Dominguez? Ms. Candela? No? Huh? You already made your. So with myself, I wanted to just kind of clarify some things that, have been people have been asking me questions in reference to, some of the issues that we have found. Myself and Mr. Bain, as we've looked to the computer system, there has been a lot of information that we're starting to protect, both digital and hard files, going back all the way to 2016. There's been a lot of capital expenditures on different projects throughout the years. We've been looking at minutes to make sure that the process that was in place was followed as far as bringing it to City Council for approval. So in a sense, we are kind of gathering information for an internal investigation on those things and a few other things that we found with most recently over the last 18 months. Making reference to one thing, last year's windstorm renewal, I think Mr. Bain referred to that during his financial report. The previous year, the contract was for about 60,000. It renewed in October of last year for 136,000. That was never brought up before council for approval. That was in October of 2022, I believe. In November of that 2022, which is a month later, the council met for a budget meeting, and they weren't advised at the time. They actually just budgeted about 63,000, knowing, you know, that the contract, the councilmans didn't know, but the previous mayor and the city administrator had already signed an agreement with the windstorm policy holder for 136,000. So
For the record, Mayor, the mayor pro tem never knew about that either.
So-
For the record.
the council members were not, it was never brought up to council for approval. It was just done unilaterally, which is not allowed. You know, there's another project, you know, there was about 600,000 spent on fixing sewer lines up in Vista Ridge in a Vista neighborhood. And the way the law requires that any project over $50,000 has to go out for an RFQ, which is basically for bids. And it's not, you know, 30,000 here, 30,000 there. You know, if the entire project itself is more than 50,000, it has to go before, it has to go out for bids. But it should go through council for approval. And that was never, we haven't found any minutes that show that was brought to the council for approval. And there are no, that we haven't found anything that says that they were put out for bids. You'd even have to have an engineering firm come and participate as well to put together the specs for those types of projects. That was never done. So those are a few things that we're looking at. We're trying to protect that digital and hard copy information for later. You know, I'm not a forensic auditor, and neither is Mr. Bain. But once we're done gathering the information, once we're done with our budgeting process, you know, that information will be given out, provided to, you know, whether it's a district attorney's office, county attorneys, or other law enforcement agency, so they can review it. And if they feel that they need to do an investigation, I'm sure they will bring in forensic auditors at that point as part of their investigation. So that's where we are with that. I just wanted to clarify that, you know, we are gathering the information. I mean, I hate to use the word investigation or internal investigation, but in a sense, that's what we're doing. We're trying to gather the information, so when we get done with our budget process, we can move on that as well. We have a workshop on Saturday again. We'll bring tacos again for breakfast. So bring your own coffee though. You know, the discussion is basically our budget. I'd like to focus on the big numbers, not necessarily line item by line item. We'll let the different department heads, you know, decide where that money is best used. Our role as council members is to say, you know what, this Department A is going to get this much. Now the person in charge of Department A needs to figure out how to manage that money, and so forth for Department B, C, and hopefully we'll come to a consensus on a budget that will work. I'm not really hopeful that the de minimis tax rate will pass. If we get, I think, just 50 registered voters to sign a petition, it goes to a vote. And at that point, you know, the community has to vote for it. So at this point, my thought is twofold. The de minimis rate isn't going to pass. That's just the way I'm looking at this. And no bank is going to lend us money. But we have to come up with a way of either generating enough revenue or enough budget cuts to total about $1.5 million. So whether we do it, obviously it's going to have to be a combination of both budget cuts plus increases in whether it's garbage or other services. But we have to come up with a way to get to that mark. If we don't get to that 1.5 million mark, we're not really doing the city any good. I mean, the city will be in the same hole this time next year that we're in right now. So that's the magic number. Now, if the de minimis rate goes through, and we get that extra revenue from the tax dollars, which, then we'll be able to be in a better situation. But again, my thought, my process, the way I'm looking at it is don't count on the de minimis rate, and don't count on the banks loaning us the money. So moving forward from there, we need to focus on how much money we need to cut from the budget and how we're going to generate the added revenue. Um, Let me see here. That's about all I have. Thank you guys for showing up again. I'm sorry we took so long to back, but we hopefully moving forward, we can now focus on our budget for Saturday. And I have nothing else to report. Do I have a motion to adjourn? So motion made by Ms. Candela, Alderman Candela, and second by Alderman Falcon, and the meeting is adjourned, officially adjourned.